Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world.
Dave.
He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the
Dave.
Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many
Can you turn
other
my speaker up?
publications.
My
And
speaker
now,
up?
the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Would you want to turn up the volume?
Speaker, I can't really hear it. Sorry.
Okay.
My bad.
Oh, that's okay.
It's the first time I gotta do that.
It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Welcome to another weekend and welcome to another edition of the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. I'm Dave Priest. It's going to be a busy next 30 minutes, and we advise you, as always, to take notes. It's almost kind of like homework, but if there's any information that you hear throughout the next 30 minutes that you want more information about, or maybe you missed some of the details, here are a couple of contact numbers that you need to know about as we listen to the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show. The phone number, as always, for Blake Sloan, the Sloan Realty Group, is 808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. And the website that's been set up especially for this radio show is BlakeSloanRadio.com. That's BlakeSloanRadio.com. Without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce him. Here he is himself, Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, how are you?
Doing awesome. Got a ton of great info for everybody this weekend. Like I said, always, as usual, kind of pack it in. And a ton of great info for the buyers and sellers. We have the most recent market numbers from last month, and they're actually kind of scary. We actually had a little dip over the past few months. We're going to talk about what exactly that dip is, how bad it is, and what that means for everyone. But it's definitely something that I think shocked a lot of people as a whole. We're also talking about the importance of having expert vendors during the home process, during the home buying or home selling process, and how it cost one lady who I was actually negotiating with $100,000 after she purchased her home previously. It's a pretty crazy situation, but how those vendors can really cost you a massive amount of money in your home purchase process. Also, we have a ton of buyers who are actually looking for homes, luxury homes over $300,000, and we're looking for actually need more listings for that. So we're going to talk about that with everyone, and also some interesting news in the mortgage world. What's happened the past couple of weeks, and we're going to discuss exactly what happened, what that means going forward for everyone, and both home sellers and buyers, based on what happens with that interest rate going forward and what the Federal Reserve is doing. And one last thing too, mentioned it briefly last week, but one thing that's really on my heart is if you guys know anyone out there who may be in trouble with their mortgage, or falling behind on payments or struggling, give them our information, have them call us, force them to call us. We can help them. We have a loss mitigation company where we go and negotiate with the banks to get them to accept less than what's actually owed on the property. We have over a 90% success rate, where the average we see in the MLS is less than 13%. But the big thing here, we see so many foreclosures that come through where they were never even put on the market. People didn't even have a chance, and that's something that we see each and every month. If they would have just reached out or known about our programs and our systems, we certainly could help them and help them avoid big judgments and big deficiencies they're having to pay back to those banks. So that's something I really want to make sure I share with everyone. And of course, we have the usual smoking hot deals for everyone and how to get VIP access to all the best deals before anyone else does.
All right, well, Blake, that's a lot of information to get to, and we've got, like I said, now just under 30 minutes to do it. But for all of you who might be just tuning in for the very first time, let me tell you a little bit about Blake, the man here at the show. He's been dubbed the industry whiz kid, the real estate whiz kid, been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, seen him on NBC, Realtor magazine. You hear the commercials right here on the radio station, endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. All that by itself is great. But to put it all together, it's just like super extra great. Now, last week and throughout the course of this show, Blake, you've told us how this team works together and the systems that you've put into place to try to help both buyers and sellers here in the Myrtle Beach area and our local market. If you could recap for people who might be tuning in for the very first time what you're talking about.
Absolutely, and it's so important. I just want to make sure we cover it every time, is that, and most people don't realize this, they think that all real estate agents are the same, which could not be further from the truth. But the single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a buyer or a seller in today's marketplace is 100% related to the agent that you choose. Period. That's it. Everyone thinks that, oh, I know someone who's in real estate, or they're all the same, they have all the access to the same same MLS. Could not be further from the truth. What happens is there's over 100 different variables in both the home buying process and the home selling process. And what happens is you either create leverage each one of those points or not create leverage. And what we've done, we've created trademark systems that we literally license out to other agents across the country, where we create maximum leverage at every single one of those points through the process from A to Z. For all of our home sellers, we actually sell their house faster and for 21% more money in traditional methods. And we also, for our home buyers out there, we have an unfair advantage home buying system. We're able to get access to the best deals before anyone else, usually before most real estate agents even know about them. Also get access to the absolute best financing based on their situation. Banks will lend the most money for the best rates, and also through the best vendors through that process. So all those together is actually what gives our clients the absolute best competitive advantage through the process.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Blake. Now, the thing is, like I said, we've got a lot of information to get to coming up in just a minute, an update on what's going on in the real estate market, and we'll also find out what some of the interest rates are looking like as well. That's all in just a second. You are listening to the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Of course, the contact numbers, once again, 808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. And, of course, you can go to the website as well, BlakeSloanRadio.com. That's BlakeSloanRadio.com.
Hey, it's your friend Sean Hannity. Now, if you own property in Myrtle Beach, the national marketing plan of the realtor that you choose is absolutely critical. Now, that's exactly why you need to talk to Blake Sloan at Sloan Realty Group. Now, Blake has a marketing system on a whole different level than anyone else in Myrtle Beach. That's so effective at capturing local and buyers from around the world that he can guarantee to sell your home at a price and a deadline that you agree to, or Blake's going to buy it. While most agents rely on yard signs and open houses that attract the occasional buyer, Blake attracts hundreds of buyers each month, which creates demand and helps your property sell fast and for top dollar. Now, that's why on average Blake sells a property every single day of the year and is ranked among the top 100 agents in the entire U.S. by the Wall Street Journal. Now, working with Blake is risk-free. Now, if you're not happy, Blake gives you the freedom to cancel your contract and pay nothing. So give Blake a call today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or just go online and see Blake's interview on NBC at BlakesGuaranteed.com. BlakesGuaranteed.com. And be sure to listen to Blake's Real Estate Show every Sunday morning at 9 and Saturday mornings at 8.
Welcome back to the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Of course, the contact numbers, if you heard, 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. BlakeSloanRadio.com, great website to go to. All the information you'll be hearing throughout the course of the day today will be there as well. That's BlakeSloanRadio.com. Right around this time every weekend, we always go over the latest real estate information. So what are some of the numbers in the housing market?
Yeah, we actually just got last month's numbers, and we were kind of waiting on that and seeing, and it's actually really scary, to be honest with you. Pretty concerning, and it's not something that everyone expected. We actually predicted something like this a while back on the show. We said there's probably going to be some dips in our recovery, which is okay. That kind of makes sure, as long as it survives that and it goes back up, it makes that recovery a little more stable. But just going after numbers, so after a really strong 2013 performance, our January numbers come out. So the most important, we use to gauge the market, usually single family homes, because we're such an investment market. That kind of gives us the real median for everything. But single family residential sales fell 11.3% compared to prior year January numbers. So that's pretty, 11% is pretty significant. It's not like a 3%, 4% drop. You're over 10%, and we could feel that literally in real time where sales were kind of, going down. And overall with that, and that's the third consecutive month of slightly declining volume. So a lot of the numbers that were released kind of said that they were flat, but if you look at it, there were slight declines in both November, December. And they were really focusing on, obviously, the year being up. Sales for the year last year were over 20% increase in sales. So with January 1st going down, to be a 11.3% decline is just a little alarming, something to watch, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. We're going to kind of talk about what we kind of think has brought that and a few other issues that may be intertwined with that. But single-family inventory rose 3.2% from the prior year level, and we're obviously just comparing January to January at this point. So obviously there's not enough real data to see long-term trend based on just this year. But the 3-month decline, even though they're very small, the first two, is something we definitely want to watch. And after 20 months of declining distressed inventory, i.e. the foreclosures, distressed sales, they had a slight uptick, but they're still down 28.2% from last year. And that's obviously going to play a little bit of played in, where everybody was scooping up all those deals and all the foreclosures that were kind of flooding the market. So we're going to see what happens, and obviously, supply and demand. Obviously, that always goes back to the pricing coming, but we had to have pretty significant declines for a few months in turn to see a pretty significant decline in prices, though. But looking at single-family median sales price, 179,530, which is consistent with last year, the full year performance. I think it was around 188 as a whole, but it's just kind of just that 1 month that we've seen the numbers, so we don't have a whole lot of data to really do that. But coupled with this strong volume in regards to the actual sales, the sales list ratio is the same, which is good, at 94%. So what that means, if a $100,000 house is listed on the market, the average way it's sold was for $94,000. So that's pretty good numbers there still too. The condo inventory is down 2.4% versus January last year. That's good. Another huge number to watch here is distressed listings are down 48.1% over last year, right? We talked about the market can finally correct itself going forward long term once it was able to get all that backlog of foreclosures and the shadow inventory. We talked about that, and we were finally able to get through a lot of that last year. Condo sales were down 14.7% compared to January last year, but the good thing here is the median sales price is up 15.2% from January last year, and obviously that came from decline through last year. Residential lot sales were flat in January compared to last year, but the median sales price is up 37.7%. At one point last year, it was up 50%, and that's because obviously with the boom coming in, that's kind of one of the things that maybe play a little bit into the numbers is so many people are now building new homes. Right now, that's a 2, 3, 4 month process depending on situation there, and even longer. But that's one thing that people are now jumping in some of those new home building, where obviously all the builders are scrambling to get lots, and they were getting great deals on a lot of these properties that had been foreclosed on. All the infrastructure is there, the lots are there, everything's with it. So what's the big thing here to really watch is we always want to see what's like going forward. We've seen this happen in other markets across the country where some areas northeast were down a little over 10%. But what the main thing is there's a combination of interest rates obviously rising. It's not that significant, where it actually was up in January, then went back down. Then it's going back up now. But a lot of it, has to do with inventory, distressed inventory, where now there's a lot of homeowners are getting, out from negative equity. They're able to meet the marketplace now. So we're definitely going to continue to watch it and see what happens. Obviously, like we mentioned in all the shows, when we talk about numbers, we want to look for trends, right? And see, is it just a small dip, or is it going to be a trend? Where we want everyone that we've talked to, experts across the country, feel that we're definitely, it's more of a stable recovery, and we're kind of still doing that same thing. But there are a lot of people who were kind of jumping off the fence before, and that's kind of one thing to really remember too. So even though we saw that, there's nothing I'll post on our site. That was a recent survey that the National Association of Realtors did that says buyers and sellers would jump off the fence this year. And that's great news for everyone. We all kind of knew that, but everybody was kind of sitting there waiting for the market to turn and watch interest rates at the same time. But they basically interviewed 2,500 consumers, and 78% of those had a favorable view of real estate. And it's a big jump since the previous ones they did, but they all are saying that a lot of the ones who have been waiting on the sidelines are finally able to come back and jump back in the market now. And as we're also seeing slightly, some of the barriers to entry for people to buy are kind of getting back. A lot of people who went through the foreclosure process before or short sale now eligible to get back into buying something. And so that's something to really watch for as well, but it's all a lot of that hinges on interest rates for sure.
The very last thing that you said as far as residential lots are concerned, that's not something that people think about a lot of. They think about the house and they look what they can see, but they don't look at the land. And since the sale price is up by, like you said, between 50 to 37% from last year, that's a huge increase.
Absolutely. That's the one thing that you can see, that's just from builders scrambling to meet that demand. You have a 20% increase in sales, and obviously the inventory was not up that much, which is why we saw prices go. But that's also playing a part. A lot of people, when we've done this even with our company, we saw a lot more new homes lately, and they're starting the purchase process, but it's not something that's actually closed and shown in closed numbers yet, versus a lot of the others. So, and just to look at, numbers from last month, single family as a whole in our marketplace here, kind of Horry County, 282 closed in this January versus 2013, 318. So it's not that bad.
Right.
And when you're not talking, thousands of numbers, when you're talking a few hundred, that small little dip can look like a 10-11% decrease. So that's one thing to always watch. It's a combination of a few things you have to do pretty much a whole show on, but it's definitely puzzling for a lot of people for sure.
Well, we are in the middle of talking about a bunch of numbers, so let's get into the other numbers. What do the mortgage rates look like now?
Interest rates have kind of been a little crazy here, where obviously there's some big news we'll talk about in a minute. But so right now, this past week, based on the Freddie Mac weekly mortgage market survey, average 30-year fixed rate mortgage 4.33%, which is up. I think it's 4.23 last show we did, 15-year fixed rate, 3.35. And that came off of a quick jump. But one thing to remember and talk about the dip in sales, here's an example why. And a year ago this time, a 30-year fixed rate was 3.37, so we're already up a whole point. But what's kind of the big underlying thing everybody's talking about is tapering, right? We talk about the Federal Reserve. Obviously, they've been having the QE3, QE4, all that for a while. But what happened the last couple weeks is basically Janet Yellen, who's obviously the new chairman of the Fed, everyone kind of figured she'd be less inclined to continue the tapering purchase, but she had testimony in front of the Financial Service Committee, and she made it quite clear that she's going to keep the current pace of tapering. Literally the same day, the bond market, everybody started dumping. And obviously, everybody knows that kind of continues to what determines interest rates there. And literally, and I know this too, I'm buying another home for myself because I was kind of taking my own medicine here, listen to what we say every week. I was like, dude, you probably need to go ahead and buy something else and move up. And we talk about the difference in cost, jumping another point. And literally, I was going to lock in that Monday. I think she was talking on Tuesday, and boom, interest rates already jumped back up. Like, man, so it's definitely something that everyone knows is going to keep going forward. They even voted unanimously to keep going with that. They are backing up, their pace of purchases from $45 billion to $40 billion per month, and the long-term treasury securities from $40 to $35 billion, and that's a big thing. But they have obviously continued that pace. We all know that's happened. We talked about that for a long time. Interest rates really jumped last year when they talked about that was going to actually happen. But going forward, we're at 4.33 now. Projected analysts are saying that Fannie Mae, their analysts say that by Q1 2015 we're at 5.1, which is obviously first of next year. National Association of Realtors 5.4. Freddie Mac 5.3, where everyone pretty much is saying we're going to be a whole point above that. And we've talked about that in previous shows, how much that affects buying power.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a massive thing for everyone. But that's kind of what we're seeing. Obviously, some people come back, and scaling back, I guess, in regards to sales. But it's still a great deal, right now, because if you're looking to be a move-up buyer, you definitely want to take advantage before it's up to over 5% for sure.
All right. Well, a lot of great information, and obviously now is the time to move. Now is the time to get some action going. And if you want to get all the information, again, you can continue listening to the show, you can take notes, or you can take action, and go ahead and call Blake Sloan at 808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. The website for this radio show is blakesloanradio.com. And if you'd like to send him an email, you can email to that address, ask@blakesloanradio.com, ask@blakesloanradio.com. This is the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Hello, Myrtle Beach. It's Glenn Beck. And if you need to sell your property, you don't have to experience all the headaches and long nights that I had to experience when I finally sold my home in Connecticut. Because you have...
I don't have the exact time in front of me, but it's about 18 minutes or so,
Okay, yeah.
so we got about 12 minutes to fill still here.
This is a new hot buyer alert, just so you know.
Okay, so I'll come
Not
back
hedge
up.
fund, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have enough to fill for the next 12?
Wall Street
I hope so.
Journal
We'll figure it out, right?
I see at the end of the bottom of the next page, it's like, if needed, blah, blah, blah. I mean, can you talk about that
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
while? Because like I said, we got about 12 minutes or so to go here, but... So, if we can go for about 9 minutes and then come back with that and do like the hot deal of the week and just finish up after that after another
Blake
commercial.
even gives you the option to get out of your contract at any point if you're not happy with his level of service, but you never will. He's the real estate agent I wish I could have called, Blake Sloan. Call him now at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD, or visit Blake's website and see his interview on NBC. That's blakesguarantee.com. Or listen to Blake's Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 8 or Sunday morning at 9.
Welcome back to the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan from Sloan Realty Group. As you just heard Glenn Beck, the phone number is 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Hopefully you're having a great weekend. Website, in case you've got some time over the weekend, if you want to recap some of the stuff you're hearing this morning, blakesloanradio.com. That's blakesloanradio.com. Blake, if you give me a second here, we're going to go into the hot buyer alert. We've kind of been talking about this a little bit now, but we want to update a little bit. You've got some great stuff right now. You've got a lot of buyers who are looking for high-end homes over $300,000. Now, if you're thinking of selling, contact Blake Sloan Realty immediately at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. So again, if you've got a higher-end home over $300,000, go ahead and call today, and you've got a lot of people that are looking for that kind of property.
Absolutely, we have so much marketing out there, and our goal is to help buyers get access to the absolute biggest selection of properties, and we have obviously people in that price range, especially the 5 to 900. Too is they're obviously selective buyers, and we specialize in a lot of that property. There's just not a whole lot on the market right now for them, and we're struggling trying to find some stuff. So we have a plethora of buyers. So anyone out there in that range, if you're possibly thinking about selling, shoot us an email, submit, call us at 808 Sold, because we have a huge group of buyers that we've collected up and just are getting all of our emails and updates. But we're still looking to find some great properties for them as well. So that's a big thing. Other thing we want to talk about is the next topic, which is, and this comes from a real story. I mentioned me buying a house, right? And I don't want to go too far into it. We'll do a whole other show later, actually, on kind of what happened where they represented themselves and I represented myself, and they weren't an agent. So obviously that we know how that ended up. But the other thing there is, the importance of having expert vendors when you're buying or selling a home. That's part of our entire system. That's one of the biggest things. I personally interview a lot of basically mortgage brokers, lenders, home inspectors, attorneys, and we're always trying to find the absolute best, because it's always A to Z, all those points and those variables you talked about. But here's the example. Obviously, it's a house on the waterway looking to buy, but the homeowner actually purchased it through an agent who didn't sell that many homes, right? They knew the agent. The agent gave them and recommended a home inspector that they didn't even know who it was. They listened to the agent. Home inspector, who obviously is no longer in business before, gave them an 8-page home inspection. When she was telling me this, I about fell out my chair. So an 8-page home inspection is like, I've never even seen one like that before. Like, I did one in this house and it was 50-something pages and had every possible thing on it.
Oh, yeah.
And this is after she had already told me that the home inspector basically missed all these things and items, and they had to spend $100,000 on this house afterwards based on things that he totally missed. And obviously that should be a huge loss in there, but we see this all the time where, hey, I got a real estate agent who's a friend. Guess what? That real estate agent has a friend who probably does the same amount of houses he does, right? It's just like our thing. The average agent that sells 4 homes a year, if you're getting LASIK eye surgery, you're not going to go to a doctor that does 4 a year, right? But people do that same thing with their largest asset. It's mind-blowing. But literally, she has over $100,000 in fix-up, right? And get this, and there's still a lot of that stuff wasn't fixed in the home inspection. And literally, they came off another $30,000 after that, from that, which is amazing. So just that one thing of that one vendor cost them $100,000, and that's the crazy thing about it. Where it's important to be the best, and it goes back to what we preach, that you always want to absolutely be working with the best when you're doing anything there. And that's just one of the many. Obviously, same thing too. Where we actually, our show last week, we talked about biggest mistakes of for sale by owners, and we could, like I said, do a whole show on that, just based on this situation here. But that's kind of the one thing why it's important. Make sure that even if you are, make sure you interview a couple of home inspectors, or even if you're getting appraisal, make sure you see how many have you done, and really dig and ask real questions, which most people don't. And want to see their track history. And we do enough where we sell 500 homes a year. We know who's the good and who's not good. And guess what? We're able to create leverage with that and make sure that we can create alignment for our clients to get them the best prices, and also at the same time making sure they're getting the absolute best talent. Where we specialize being the best in real estate, we want the one that specializes being the best home inspector, being the absolute best mortgage broker, and that's who we want to align ourselves with to create that maximum leverage at every single point. So that's something that's really, a story I just want to share. That's real life happened to me. There's happens hundreds and hundreds of times, a month everywhere else, and we see it through other transactions. But that's just mind blowing to pay somebody, trust them, make an investment in a house, close to $1 million, and then you just have to put another $100,000 into it because of somebody made a mistake. And that point is way too late. You already own the house and you're screwed.
Yeah, you want to help your friends out and your buddies out if they say, yeah, I kind of dabble in this, but at the same time, you really want to go to a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Just because you have a doctor who may, just kind of have like a family practice, and you may have gone to church with him, doesn't mean you want to hire him for open heart surgery. And that's a great thing that people really don't think about. And doctors and lawyers, they don't really. It's not really as bad as in real estate, where everyone thinks they're the same, and it's not at all. And that kind of leads to the next thing really quick is the number one mistake that home sellers make, and I see this every day, and we talk to other people, but the biggest mistake that people make is overpricing their home. And we'll post a study I was looking for. I must have left it at the office, but that they scientifically, literally the Florida International University did a study, and they showed that people who overpriced their home, it hurt them way, way worse on the back end, which is crazy. And most people don't realize the number one thing we talk about in our guaranteed sold system is that in our marketplace last year, 52.31% of homes failed to sell in the market. So you have less than half a chance of success rate in selling your largest asset. That's because, guess what? Average agent sells 4 homes a year, right? They're just telling them. And here's what the number one mistake that homeowners do on top of overpricing it. They go with the agent who promises the highest price, right? So here's how the interview goes. They sit down with them, and they just make friends, and they like them, and they don't really have anything tangible that shows what they do to sell the house faster and give it more exposure, but they just promise them the highest price, and guess what happens? they had over 50% failure rate, you know, and it's like you wouldn't get on an airplane knowing you had less than a 50% chance of getting there, right? But the same thing happens when most people are dealing with their largest asset, which is, you know, a big challenge, a big problem there. So that's the one thing that people definitely make sure they do. Like I said, the average agent sells 4 homes a year, and if you break down that, the average agent basically spends 10% on their marketing. And that's about $277 on each house. You know, that's the cost of a sign and a lot box. You know, we spend tens of thousands every single month in that, and that in turn creates a massive exposures for our sellers, and in turn sells our houses, you know, faster for more money. A perfect example is last year, average days on market, and our MLS was 207. Ours from start to close was 73. Big difference there, right? Average list to sale price ratio last year, obviously it's up a little bit this year, but that was 91%. Us 98%. And that's kind of the big thing where, and the other part is expired listings. 37% of listings on the market expired, meaning they just quit and stopped. They didn't relist it. We're less than 1%. And that's usually if it's someone who was unable to do a short sale somehow, they couldn't get the documents or whatnot. That's the only reason there. So it's a big thing, and make sure your agent has the right data and information. We subscribe to every single data source in the world so we know real time what's going on in the market, and we can plan for that and make sure we price it accurately. At the same time, use our system to get you the high end of the price range in your marketplace.
Well, you know, as far as overpricing, everybody wants to get as much money as they can for their property. That's obvious. So they want to think that they can do that, but I mean, you'll scare a lot of people away if you put it out there that's unreasonable.
Here's the deal. If I walk into your house, right, as an agent, and I tell you your house is worth 150 and you think it's worth 200,
right,
you don't hear another word I say, right? So that's kind of the problem where it's really important to make sure that you have the right data. We don't, and that's one thing people think, real estate agents don't choose the price, the market sets the price, right? The best real estate agents, what they do is they have access to all the right data. They know the micro market, the macro market, everything going on, and we're able to go through together and say, hey, look, here's this. Now, if you're a buyer, from the buyer's point of view, there's this house here, are you going to pay more for this one? No, it's really easy once you're able to do that, but we have software we developed that does absorption rates. We know how many homes are in the market, what the average amount of homes that sell per month are, and we're able to just plug it in there, you know, based on X amount of homes being sold, we need to be number 1 and number 2 in the eyes of value to the buyer, and we're easily able to place there. It's really easy business, and this whole system here is really easy when you're reverse engineering from position of strength to be able to win, and that's something that's really important too. And the whole thing is, there's a whole principle of price elasticity where no matter where the market's up or market's down, there's always the low end of the price range and there's always the high end. Doesn't matter if it's in Myrtle Beach as a whole or within your specific neighborhood. There's always going to be the low end, there's always going to be the high end, and that's how that price elasticity works. And what our system does is we're able to show you here the difference, and we're able to, through staging and through different things like, you know, pre-inspection, we're able to get you the high end of that price range by doing so and positioning with maximum market exposure. One of the cool studies that we have that we kind of shared previously is just if you get a pre-inspection done in your home and get that fixed, right, just like that example earlier, it can speed your home sale up 30%. And other studies have shown in national news media outlets, we have reports, for every dollar identified on repairs, the buyer usually ends up getting $2 for that every one on the back end. So it costs you so much more on the back end negotiation that by that point you've already bought another home, you want something else, you're ready to get the heck out of there, and that's where people cost themselves so much money not having the right experts and the right strategy when they're dealing with and selling their largest assets. So big ways to make massive mistakes through the process if you don't have someone to give you expert advice from A to Z for sure.
Before we wrap up, got about 30-45 seconds left here. Do we have any hot deals of the week that you want to do?
Oh man, I got a steal, and it's a foreclosure home that's the bank totally redid. A lot of the banks like Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae are totally redoing a lot of their properties now. It's just part of their strategy, so it's not like a beat up foreclosure. It's new carpet, new paint, new appliances, everything. But it's on the waterway, on stilts, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Literally on the waterway with a dock, $269,000.
Wow.
And absolute steal there. And that's right in the Soxie area. We have a ton of other deals pretty much everywhere else. As everyone knows, through our unfair advantage system, you can get VIP access to all the best deals from every real estate company. Includes, you know, bank foreclosure, distress sales, desperate sellers, and all you got to do is just sign up for that, and we'll get you access before, like I said, most real estate agents even know about them.
All right, absolutely fantastic information. Blake, appreciate all the info. And you do it again next week?
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing you guys.
All right, thanks a lot. It's Blake Sloan with the Sloan Realty Group. The phone number is 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Address on the web, BlakeSloanRadio.com. That's BlakeSloanRadio.com. It's here every weekend. It's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Hey, it's your friend Sean Hannity. Now, if you own property in Myrtle Beach, the national marketing plan of the realtor that you choose is absolutely critical. Now, that's exactly why you need to talk to Blake Sloan at Sloan Realty Group. Now, Blake has a marketing system on a whole different level than anyone else in Myrtle Beach. That's so effective at capturing local buyers from around the world.